So I've been playing a lot of RPGs lately, as it's no surprise if you know me. That's what I do. I play RPGs. I really love them. They're my favorite genre because of just so many things. They're long. You get your money's worth. You can get into characters, world buildings, story, music, feelings. Just everything. I'm fascinated with the genre. I play all types of genres, but RPGs are my favorite. So I've been playing a lot of RPGs lately, and I like to jump around too. Sometimes I won't play like a series like straight through. I'll actually just jump around. Like I'll play one from a series. Like for example, recently, uh, I played I played Grandia, and I loved that. And it was like, oh, people were like, you should play Grandia 2 next and everything. And I'm like, I am looking forward to playing it. But I was like, you know what? I feel like playing Phantasy Star. Now, the original Phantasy Star on the Sega Master System, not, PSO, Phantasy Star Online, that's what I started with. But I want to go back and take a look back at the series, what they used to be. Because it didn't start as an MMO type gameplay. It started as a traditional RPG, a single player experience. And I wanted to go back and play. And I enjoyed Phantasy Star. It's a little bit dated, but for the time, you have to realize when you play these games, you have to think for the time. That was amazing stuff, the 3D dungeons and everything. But I know, going off tangents already. This is not what the video is about. Just explaining that I jump around a lot in RPGs. Like went to Grandia, then I jumped to Phantasy Star, and then I jumped after I finished that. I jumped to a little game called Chrono. This game right here. Now, how do I feel about this game? I I just got through finishing it for the first time, and I have to say that it's a mixed bag for me. It's unfortunate because uh, there's a lot of things that are pretty cool. I like. I wouldn't say there's a lot of things. There's stuff in this game that I really enjoy. Um, but overall, the full package just wasn't for me. Um, and I'm gonna go into detail about the certain things and how I felt about the game. But a lot of people I've heard from before I've even played the game, a lot of people do not like this game. Um, it's usually Chrono Trigger fans, that came off of Chrono Trigger. We're expecting another Chrono Trigger. This is not what this is. This is a completely different game. Um, it's a completely different combat system. It's actually a unique combat system to like RPGs in general. It's so different. You can take that as a bad or a good thing. It kind of like there was a time, I think it was about maybe a few months ago or a year ago. I tried to play this like in the beginning, and I just couldn't understand the combat system and the battle system. I didn't understand how I was supposed to play. I didn't understand the elements. I didn't understand there were no levels. I didn't understand how the hell the game was supposed to be played. Um, so I was like an hour in, and I'm just like, it's not for me. I'm not gonna play this right now. I might give it another shot, another time when I feel up to it. But at that moment, I didn't really care, so I just put it away. But I decided to go back to it, and I wanted to see if I could like it. I wanted to see if I could learn the system and everything. And I have to say that I learned how to play it, obviously, because I beat the game. But at first, learning it and understanding it, I was really digging it. I liked the new type of system. It was pretty cool. Um, and I enjoyed it for a while. It all clicked, and I understood it, and I was like, "Oh, this is not too bad. This is kind of cool." It relies on a little bit more strategy compared to other RPGs, and it's really punishing if you don't have the strategies, you don't bring the certain elements, have you? Um, I thought it was interesting, and I'd say 70% of the game, I really enjoyed it. But the last 30% of the game, it got boring to me because once you figure out, how to beat bosses, and once you figure out how to just do great at it, it gets boring because you do the strategy. If usually if you go into a boss fight, right, and the fucking enemies and the bosses are cheap, like they'll one shot you, or like you get hit hard and you're like, what? And it's like, what you should do is you use diminish, which halves all the elemental damage. You do debuffs, you sap their magical energy even more, their magic attack or their physical attack or whatever, and you just drop them down, and you just focus on attacks or strength based elements. That's something you can do. I mean, usually, yeah, when I got hit hard in a boss fight, I made sure to put diminish up because that helps a lot, and I can get my party back up and heal. Um, but and then once you get the fields, like the elemental field casts, where you just cast the whole field a color, and then you just follow that up, like you plan it ahead and follow it up with a summon, and you do massive amounts of damage. Like by end game with Kid, I would put up a field with Karsh. I was using Karsh. I would put up a field and already have her elementals built up in her turn, and then I would immediately cast Salamander Summon, and I would do like 2,500 damage with the sunglasses accessory. It was just insane, and you just instantly annihilate bosses, and it got boring after a while. But I did enjoy it for 70% of the game. The battle system entirely is not for me. I enjoyed some of it, but it's not like a battle system I would look back on and be like, oh, I love this battle system and I can replay this all. No, it's just not like that for me. Um, but that was one of the things I did enjoy. 70% of the game, I enjoyed the battle system. Um, so what else did I enjoy? We'll talk about what I enjoyed first before I get into the things that really rubbed me the wrong way. Uh, there's a few plot devices. There's a few things that happen in Chrono Cross that I enjoyed. A few. I'm not gonna get into the battle. I'll save that for later. But there was a few things that made me feel something. There wasn't many, but the things that were there were pretty cool, and I felt some things, and that was important. And I think the character that I was most attached to wasn't even the main character, Surge. The character I was most attached to was Kid. I just loved her. It's like I had the biggest crush on Kid, and I still do. I think she's a wonderful girl, and I just have this crush on her. I just really like her. I really really like her. I like her design. I like her character design. I like her like tomboyish personality. I just like her, right? And she was the character I cared for the most, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that I did care for her that much, and you're like, but why? Because I'm not gonna get into it because it's part of the bad, but there's something that happens with her in the game continuously that's just an annoyance. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And lastly, the thing that I think about the most is the fucking soundtrack. The soundtrack to this game is incredible. And you would think, why is it so incredible? Well, it's the composer that did mostly all of the Chrono Trigger music. How do you pronounce his name? I'm probably gonna butcher it. Yasunori Mitsuda. He did music for Chrono Trigger, most of Chrono Trigger soundtrack. There was some tracks from other people and some from Yamatsu, but he mainly composed all the music for Chrono Trigger. He did Xenogears, one of my favorite games of all time. The soundtrack to Xenogears blows my fucking mind. Like, Mitsuda is one of the legends. He's right up there with Yamatsu. He's right up there with Yuzu Hoshiro, the one that does the Streets of Rage and E's fame. He's right up there with Sakuraba, that does the Star Ocean Valkyrie Profile music. he's right up there with the greats, and there's many other greats that I didn't mention because I don't know their names, how to pronounce them. But like the guy that composed the Grandia music, like for the first one, he's fantastic. He's right up there with the greats, and he composed a great soundtrack for Chrono Cross. That's probably the highest point I have to say in favor for Chrono Cross. The best thing about Chrono Cross is the soundtrack. There's so many tracks in this game that are fucking amazing. They're catchy, they're atmospheric, they're just haunting. There's some, like forbidden tracks. Like I think of Dragon God, the track that plays when you get to the final dragon, which is all the dragons merged into one. The first part of the Time Devourer. That music is so good. It's just amazing, and not to mention, all the music is amazing in the game. But Edge of Death, if you know that song, Edge of Death, it's the main boss theme for the game. That has become one of my favorite boss themes of all time now that I've experienced this game. It's become one of my favorite boss themes. It's crazy. It's so good. I'm obsessed with it. I listen to it like all the time. I have to listen to the song at least, like, now that I've experienced it, like at least, 2 times a day. I just have to, it's so good. I have to listen to it. It's freaking amazing stuff. And that, I would say that's the greatest stuff of Chrono Cross. I really enjoyed that stuff a lot. Now, I'm going to get into the bad. Now, there's a lot of bad stuff, and all the stuff that I'm going to mention, it's going to seem like I'm complaining a lot. And despite all the stuff that I had a problem with, I really still enjoyed my experience with Chrono Cross. I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it now that it's fresh in my head, and just to capture this moment in time of how I felt about it. Because truth be told, I probably will never play it again. I'm not going to say definitely won't play it again, but I probably won't, because I don't really plan to. I mean, I had a mixed experience with it. There's a lot of stuff that I liked, like I mentioned, but there's more stuff that I didn't like that rubbed me the wrong way. Now, we're probably going to get into spoilers, so I mean, if you haven't played Chrono Cross and you want to play it eventually, don't watch this video. This is mainly for the people that have played it and maybe feel the same way I do, or can see it from my point of view, maybe. And I know there's a lot of hardcore Chrono Cross people out there. There's some people that say they like Chrono Cross better than Trigger. I don't see how. I mean, that's one thing in this video I don't want to do, even though I should, because it's part of the series and it's the sequel. I'm not going to compare Chrono Trigger to Chrono Cross, because Chrono Trigger is in a league of its own. It's basically one of Chrono Trigger. If you've been living under a rock for the past 20 years, Chrono Trigger is one of the finest RPGs to ever be created of all time. It's perfection. Every aspect of Chrono Trigger is perfect in my eyes and in a lot of people's eyes. It's widely known as one of the greatest things to ever happen in RPG gaming, right? Now, Chrono Cross doesn't even come close to that. I'd say as where I would put Chrono Trigger is like 10 out of 10, right? The highest score you could possibly give it. Chrono Cross would be above average. Just above average. It just gets by mainly because of the soundtrack. It's just above average, right? And the battle system's kind of neat, for a while. But anyways, I can tell you, while I was playing through the game, I felt that it was empty. The game felt empty. There was no real plot until a certain point in the game, where it's just like they throw this stuff on you, but you're just kind of like, huh? It, like, the stuff that they tell you and explain to you, and the stuff, it's so convoluted. Like, it's funny because you would think that Chrono Trigger, a game as well that deals with time, going in between time periods, and going back in time, going into the future. It would be convoluted as hell, but they managed to do a good job explaining certain things, and it didn't feel convoluted to me, Chrono Trigger. It felt like they nailed everything perfectly with the story and whatnot. But Chrono Cross does it's the complete opposite. They don't explain it very well, and everything is mixed. You don't know certain things. You have like, I was playing the game, I have no freaking clue what the hell is going on, and they're explaining certain things to me, and I'm just like, I don't really understand this. And the only thing that was pushing me forward was to see what happens next, more new music, and like just what happens really. But like playing through the game is just like it's just I you start off where you're playing, you're getting these Komodo scales for your girlfriend Lena. Was it Lena or whatever? This girl, so you can make a necklace, I think, or something. It's like some Kingdom Hearts shit. Uh, and then you faint or something, and like you're in another, you wake up in the same spot, but you're in another time. You're like 10 years in the future, and you're dead or something. You're supposed to be dead. You drowned or some shit. And then it leads to you, like, did you actually drown or die? And then it led to you getting bit by a poisonous, like a demon panther that had poison, and you were poisoned. Then you get sent to Chronopolis by Wazuki, which was your father, but Wazuki's really Linux. But it's so convoluted. Like, it just, like, I thought Xenogears was convoluted, and I enjoyed Xenogears. I even enjoyed the convolutedness of Xenogears. There's some things I'll enjoy the convolutedness of, but Chrono Cross just didn't do it for me. Like, at least with Xenogears, like, I mean, I guess I could look up further information on Chrono Cross, but there wasn't enough to really captivate me like Xenogears did. Like, there's so much mixed information, and they throw all this different stuff at you. Like, it's like, I didn't understand it. Like, you and then Kid shows up, which was one of the characters I loved, Kid. And it's a shame because, like, I want to get into the bad about it. Well, I'm already into the bad, but I'm gonna talk about what I hated about Kid shortly, but I'm gonna go through the plot first. And it's like she meets up with you, and it's like, oh, I'll hang with you, and we need to go after Linux. So you don't even know what the hell you're doing in the game. All you know is that she wants to go after Linux, and like it's like, okay, or Lynx, or however you pronounce it. Yeah, it's Lynx. And all right, so it's like, okay, now you have a goal, kind of. It's like, we have to go after Lynx. It's like, okay. And then you do a bunch of stuff to get to him. You fight him, and it's like, okay. Then he leaves, and then, Kid gets. Here's the thing. Here's the first part of it. Kid gets hurt. She falls off a balcony. She gets poisoned or whatever by Lynx, right? So you have the choice to either rescue her or save her, and depending on what you do, I didn't really get into it. You get a different character to recruit or whatever. But I went with save because I wanted to save her, and you have to do all this stuff to save her, and then when you do, you can use her again, right? And then you have to go to Fort Dragonia and to face Lynx, and then Lynx becomes Surge, the main character. He becomes you. Like, he goes into your body, and you go into Lynx's body. Like, you're in his body, and it's weird. It's like, what the hell? And it's like, then Surge stabs, or Lynx stabs Kid, right? And then all this, she's gone. She's done. Then you get warped to this dimensional vortex, and it's like, now you're Lynx for like the whole game almost, right? You're playing as Lynx the whole game. You're in his body. And Kid is gone for like the rest of the game. And then later on you get to Chronopolis. You have to fight Evil Surge. You have to fight Lynx. And then you beat him, and he wakes up, and she wakes up. only to be put in a coma. It's like all these things that are happening to Kid the whole game. It bothered me because Kid was the character I cared about the most. Now in this game, you recruit like 40 characters or more, and that's the thing. I wasn't a fan of that because you don't. I'd rather have a little amount of characters and create a relationship with each one of these characters and go through stuff with them, as opposed to just the pick off anyone off the street concept of what they chose to do. Like wasn't into that. It literally, that's what I thought. I was like, they're really just doing, because like every moment, like every 5 minutes, I was getting a new party member, and I'm like, I'm literally picking up anyone off the street. It's like going in downtown or like going in real life, walking and seeing bums on the street. Hey, you want to be a party member? It's like I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of that. Um, I couldn't get into that. Now, there wasn't to say there was a few characters that you just recruit that I kind of liked. There's Starkey, the little alien. He was a cute little thing. And there's like other characters like basically who I ended up using was, I was using Irenes. That's how you pronounce her name. She's like a mermaid. She's a demi-human. She's like a mermaid S type character, with a harp, and I used her for raw magic power because her magic power was the highest out of everybody that I recruited. And then I used Karsh when I got him for raw attack power. His attack power was pretty massive, especially his physical elemental techniques that he had that were pretty OP. I mean, I was doing some pretty serious damage, like compared to other characters. Um, so I was using them a lot. I mean, I couldn't use Kid. I would use Kid, but she's gone the entire game for the most part, and it's kind of annoying. Um, but yeah, there's that, and then there's like putting, like, if SquareSoft games, they'd always have like some clean inventories. Like they'll have like clean ways you can do things. And like you can exchange things on party members. Like say you have a build that you have on a character, you can exchange the whole thing and just throw it on another character with a press of a button. This is what disappointed me with Chrono Cross. It's like I spent all this time building a grid, an element grid, right? And now I want to change a character. I want to use an entirely new character. All I want to do is press the button, exchange all of those elements, that grid onto the new character I want to use, but it's non-existent. You would think, I mean, if you search through the menus, you can go to all the other party members that aren't in your party. You can remove all their equipment with a press of a button. You can remove all their elements with a press of a button, but you can't exchange between party members. That was just, I was mad because I didn't want to set up, and go through a whole elemental grid again. It's just a pain in the ass, right? And just like I felt the plot wasn't going anywhere. I mean, most of the time you're just going around doing these little things, and it's not really, the plot isn't going anywhere. It's like, oh, what? I'm going after Lynx. Oh, like nothing else is really happening. Like, it's like, oh, now I'm in a dimensional vortex, and now I have to find Lynx again, but in my body. It's like, oh, I have to go around the world. And it's like, okay. And it's like, oh, and now this is happening at Dead Sea. Oh. And now it's saying that Lavos is back. It's like Lavos did this and he caused this and this, because Chrono and the gang in Chrono Trigger stopped Lavos in one timeline. This caused an effect in another timeline, or this timeline this got destroyed, or this was created, and these it was just sea, kind of like Xenoblade, but then islands were created, and then it was just convoluted, like all this stuff. It drives me crazy. Like, they throw all these things, especially when you get to Chronopolis, they throw all this stuff at you. It's like, okay, they talked about Lavos, they talked about the Reptites and the evolution, they talked about all this other stuff, and I'm just like, I didn't really care about it, in all honesty. I didn't, and it feels like it was supposed to be bigger than it was, but I just didn't really care about it. It really is a shame. So long story short, the pacing of the game, the story pacing, and the plot, the way that it flows is terrible. It's downright terrible, to be honest with you. So I wasn't really a fan of that. Um, and then I mean, what else rubbed me the wrong way? I mean, using Link's, like being in Link's body and having that happen. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. I was just in the middle with it. I was just like, I'm just whatever. I don't hate it. I don't love it. So it was okay, I guess. But I mean, where's to say that that was pretty cool? Like the cutscene where he changes and then it shows his face going to like that evil panther mode, Surge's face. That was pretty cool. There were cool moments. Like I said, there were a few key moments that were really cool in Chrono Cross, and I really enjoyed it. But there's a majority that I didn't like. Um, I mean, what else was there that there was a few other things that actually, you know what, I typed up on a notebook some of the things I wanted to talk about. So let me just look really quick because there's some other things that I wanted to talk about. Let me look really quick here. Let's see. So yeah, I already explained what I liked about the game. I want to talk too close to the microphone. It'd probably be extra loud. Hold on. Yeah, it basically was just talking about how I feel like the music carried Chrono Cross. The music was the most amazing thing to me. I mean, that opening theme music, Time Scar and the Edge of Death boss music and the Dragon's God boss music. There's a lot of music in the game that is fucking fantastic. It was really good, but that's what carried the game was the music. Let's see what else that was bad about it. Oh, I already talked about Kid and the dilemma, the obnoxiousness of the plot with Kid, and she's not really part of the plot that much. She just gets knocked out, coma. She gets stabbed. She's gone for half the fucking game, which I did not like. Yeah, the story and pacing I just talked about. I'm sorry, guys. I know this is not to say that I'm professional in the slightest, which I'm not, but this is not very unprofessional. Um, I kind of forgot what I wanted, but I wanted to talk about these things. Right, right, right. So the time devourer, I wanted to talk about that. Like I said, when you fight the first time devourer, because there's two time devourers. There's the first part, and then there's the final boss, which is also called time devourer, but it's different. It's, I don't know. Basically the time devourer, the first one, when you get to the end of the Terra Tower, and it's basically the six dragons. I didn't mention that before. The dragons are pretty fucking cool. I do like the dragons, but the six dragons merge into one, being what they're actually supposed to be. This one dragon, and it's called the Time Devourer. That battle was epic as fuck. Um, the music was incredible. It was like kind of like the forbidden music of Xenogears, like that last one of the last tracks. The what is it? The those who bear their fangs at God or whatever that track. It has some chanting in the beginning, which was really when that music came on, that battle started. I had goosebumps all up and down my body. It was so amazing. Um, it was so epic. So that was really good. But this is what I didn't like is the final time devourer. There's another part which isn't even the dragon. It's supposed to be the thing that spawned from Lavos mixed with Skahala, the girl from Chrono Trigger. She's mixed in with it, and her her feelings of the tragedy of her, and was attached to Lavos, and it created this. I don't really know. It's something like that, and it created the Time Devourer. I just I wasn't a fan of it. Like now I want to just point out. I want to mention that as I appreciated when the battle began, I appreciated no music. I appreciated just the atmosphere sounds of the time being devoured in the background. You see the portal, and then just the sounds of that, just the sounds of that environment. There was no music. I appreciated that. I thought it was pretty cool, but it would have benefited more if it had epic music. I mean, hell, even have that sounding, have the sound playing in the background with the music. I mean, they did that in the Ozzy, Flea, and Slash fight in the game. There's a bonus fight. I didn't do it because I don't want to replay it, the game. But if you do New Game Plus, you can fight Ozzy, Flea, and Slash. That's pretty cool. But I watched the video and just seen it just so I could see it. And they used the fucking Edge of Death boss music, which is awesome, and had those sound effects and atmosphere playing with it. So, but I know they wanted to make it like, they wanted to make it like have a certain feeling to it, and I appreciate that. And the weight of what's happening. But it would have benefited from epic music. It was kind of a snore, the battle. It just dragged on. It was kind of boring. It wasn't very fun. And I mean, if you beat the game the normal way, there's two ways to beat it. There's the good ending and the bad ending. The bad ending is if you just kill the Time Devourer, and as soon as you kill it, it just cuts to credits. It's not even a bad ending. It just doesn't show anything. It just cuts to credits. The credits start to roll, and then when the credits are over, it just says Finn. There's actually no ending. So when it says bad ending, it really is no ending. They don't even show bad things. I thought, like, when I did the ending, I was like, I wonder what happens. I want to see what bad happens. But it didn't show anything. It just cut out the portion of the good ending. I got the good ending first, so I did the good ending, and I'm like, okay, I seen this stuff, and then I did the bad ending, and all it was they just cut out what they showed. It just skipped to credits after you beat it, and then just skipped to Finn's screen, and I was disappointed. Like, this is stupid. This is not a bad ending. This is just no fucking work put in, right? Now, the good ending. Very frustrating process. You have to play certain elements all in a row, and then to end it off, you have to use the Chrono Cross element, which I was having a hard time doing. I was reading a guide to try to figure this out, and what the guide was telling me was wrong. It was like, get all your element levels to 7, and it's like, then after that, use a level 1 yellow element. Then after that, use a level 2 yellow element. And then after you do that, defend until the Time Devourer attacks. And it should use a yellow element. Then you do the steps. No, every time I would do what it was saying, it would follow it up with a blue element. Before that, it literally just spams green elements. So you can't get this thing to work. The combination, you can't get this good ending, right? It would just do green elements, and as soon as I did the 2 yellow elements, it would only do blue to break it up, and then it would constantly do green again. And I'm just like, I had to keep redoing it. And what I find funny is that this is the only fucking game that I know that you can run from the final boss. It's hilarious. Like, you're in the final boss and you can run away. It's like, what? You can run away from the final boss. It's hilarious. And then you start back where the portal is so you can, do whatever again. Heal up, change elements, whatever. I just found that funny, but I did what it said and it wouldn't work. So what I ended up doing was I had to look up a video just to see how it was done. And that's the only way that I did it. I looked up a video, and it wasn't what the guide was telling me. The guide was telling me something completely different, which wasn't working. So I just followed the video. And then the good ending, which it just talks about dreams and it talks about others. Like, I really didn't care about all the stuff that's happening. It's a shame. And like, Kid is supposed to be, you'll meet her in another time, another place, but you might not know each other, blah blah blah. and then she looks a little bit different, and whatever. I mean, I don't really fucking know. I mean, the game story I didn't care about, in all honesty. I mean, it was kind of cool to see, spoilers. I already said it was spoilers. It was kind of cool to see Chrono, Luca, and Marley in child form in PlayStation 1 graphics, but I will say that one of the most things that I felt was in the game was when you actually when Kid is in the coma, you use the time egg. The Masamune taps in, or if you have the Chrono Cross element, it taps into the time egg. The time egg wouldn't work on its own, but they tap into it, and it allows you to go back into time when Kid was a child in the orphanage, Luca's orphanage, or basically her house was burned down. I guess they turned it into an orphanage in the future. Um, but you get to go inside of it, and where you remember, like in Chrono Trigger, you go into Luca's house and everything, her dad and like the machines in the beginning. You get to go in her house and like it's on fire, and like in that time period, so you find out that basically Lynx attacked it. I completely forget why. It was something with Luca because she knew too much or something. It's complicated. There's tons of things I didn't really absorb fully into my brain, but it, basically Lynx attacked and burned down the home. I think did he kill Luca? I think he killed Luca. I can't really remember. But and that's why then you find out that's why Kid is after Lynx with a passion. Like she wants him dead because that happened. And like you see like paint like little like children drawings of Luca, Chrono, Robo, Alia and Marley on in the house and everything. And you see Gatto the robot, like my metal joints, and you'll get silver points or whatever that rhyme he does in Chrono Trigger. It's pretty cool. But yeah, like you see all that stuff, and like when you finish that time period, when that's like a little segment, it's only like 10 minutes. When you finish it, there's a scene that happens where the house is, you step outside with Kid when she's a child in that time period, and the house is burning down, and this fucking music plays, this haunting music, and it's sad, and you hear these children, go la 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 la, and the music is so emotional and what's happening, and you feel for Kid. I got super emotional. I started like crying a little bit. I got a little choked up. I started tearing up and like feeling Kid's pain in that point. And I'm all alone, and like Chrono, is like, I'll stay with you, but then he disappeared. And then she's like, "Oh no, I'm all alone." I got so choked up. That was a moment for me that was really good, and it was really sad, and I felt something. That was pretty neat. Um, but yeah, man, I just don't. I don't know. I looked up. That's what I wanted to talk about. But like, I don't know what else to say about this game. The music is fantastic. I already downloaded all of the music, and it's fantastic. And it's something that I will continue to listen to for the rest of my life. But the game, I'm not sure if I'll replay it again. I can't really say. Uh, it was too convoluted for me. I didn't care about things as much. Pick anyone off the street concept of the game with all these characters. I wasn't really a fan of the plot and the pacing of the story, and if there was any story that was there, just was the story that wasn't there felt non-existent. And when stuff happened, it was just I didn't really care. In all honesty, it's weird. And all this stuff rubbed me the wrong way, but I did enjoy the game though. As I said before, like I mentioned, it sounds like I really complained about a lot of stuff, which I did because a lot of things rubbed me the wrong way, but I enjoyed my experience with it though. It was one of those RPGs where you play it once, you enjoyed what you played, you enjoyed your time with it, and now you move on, and it's that simple. And I'm probably gonna play. I'm gonna take a little break from RPGs, and then the next RPG I'm gonna play is probably Grandia 2, because I'm really looking forward to playing it. Um, for the Dreamcast. I heard it's the best one, and a lot of fans love it, and it looks amazing. I played a little bit just to test the game to see if it worked, and it works, and I'm excited. The battle system, like in terms of battle system comparative, like Chrono Cross's battle system and Grandia, I much prefer Grandia because, like I said, Grandia has one of the best battle systems in an RPG that I've ever played so far, and it's fantastic. So yeah, man, I just wanted to talk about Chrono Cross and how I really felt about it. Legit feelings. I don't sugarcoat. I tell you how I really feel. I wanted to talk about it and, capture a moment in time about how I felt about it, and yeah. Uh I post this stuff on this. I'm gonna do a little plug. It's not really a plug. It's not a plug because I don't have followers, but I do have a Facebook page. If you guys are on Facebook, um, the few of you guys, look me up. You could just put in Dan Driscoll, Dan, and then Driskell, and I'm the one with the Fei Fong Wong avatar up, the Xenogears one. That's me. You can just follow me or become friends with me, and you can see, because most of the stuff that I post, like I'm in an RPG group and some other gaming groups, and I post things I feel about video games. I post and everything and have conversations with other people, so that's where I mainly post. I used to do these videos all the time, but I kind of slowed down on that, and I usually just post on Facebook. So if you want to, hear what I have to say, join me on Facebook, friend me, and we can talk and whatnot. That'd be cool. But yeah, like I talked to a lot of people about Chrono Cross when I posted this. I posted like 6 paragraphs or something about my feelings on Chrono Cross. Basically, what I'm doing now in this video, I posted in text form, and I was having discussions with people, and a lot of people, feel the same way, like 100% on everything I talked about. They feel the same way I do. Like they love the music, they love the certain things, but things rub them the wrong way. They feel the same exact way. And there's some people, even people that just love Chrono Cross, that don't really hate it at all or have problems with it, even admit to things that I mentioned, and like one of the people didn't even realize how absent Kid was from the rest of the game. Like they didn't think about it till now, until I mentioned it. They're like, wow, now that you mention it, Kid was absent for a big portion of the game, and it does suck. And it's like, yeah, man, it's unfortunate, but I mean, I like I said, I'm gonna end this video now because I'm just like repeating myself. But I enjoyed Chrono Cross. I enjoyed it. I got some wallpapers. I got the soundtrack, and I I feel like, weirdly enough, like years from now, I'll fondly look back on Chrono Cross, even though I didn't fully enjoy it. And who knows, maybe I'll replay it again. Maybe I won't. But as of right now, it was a one-time experience. I enjoyed it. Wasn't perfect. There's a lot of things that bugged me. Music was fan-fucking-tastic. But time to move on to more, RPG experiences and the wonders of RPGs and the greatness. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy.